Hello, everyone. This is a podcast that I have long waited for. This is an honor for me to speak with Rollo Tomassi from The Rational Male. Two books out already. I highly recommend them. Go out, buy them, read them. Very informative regarding female nature, and in a lot of parts about male nature as well. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And really an honor. I'll say it again because I said it to you privately just
So,
before. So we'll start just by what brought you to the community. I know you've answered this question before, but I think it really brings things forward and smooths things along. So you started this blog ages
mhm,
ago.
yeah.
So how
Well,
long would you say you've been writing for?
the blog's been out since 2011, and before that, you have to excuse my voice. I was at a concert last night, and my voice was a little raw. But anyways, I was writing on the So Suave forum for almost, about 8 or 10 years, and I had a lot of people request, for me to start a blog, and I really was kind of reluctant to do that because I was more into just, hashing out different ideas and really debating people in a forum context. And when you start a blog, it's like your whole approach ends up being, you are the authority of that blog. You are the authority of whatever it is that you're speaking on. And, I didn't like that idea because, for the most part, I want a dialogue. I want people to talk, amongst each other. Like the ideas and the principles and the foundational stuff that I talk about. Um, it's a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. So I was really reluctant to start a blog, but then in 2011, people said you need to start a blog because Royce has a blog, and Roosh has a blog, and this guy has a blog, and Nick Krauser has a blog, and everyone else has a blog, and you should probably start, getting into the blogosphere, the manosphere. And I didn't even know what the manosphere was back then. So, so I started it out, and for the most part, the first few, I would say the first 6 months or 7 months, I was just basically copy and pasting my best work that I thought was good enough on, from the So Suave forum,
Mhm.
and which has been around, by the way, since I would say the early 2000s, the late 1990s. I would say 98, 99 is when it first came out, and then there was a second incarnation of it that sort of came out around 2002, and that's when I became a moderator, and I got familiar with Alan and the guys that run that blog, or the that forum. So, um, and then they told me, said, you know what, you should take this stuff and you should really make it a blog. So that's what I did. And from there, I took all of the stuff that I've been writing for about, 10 or 12 years, and I went back over it and picked it apart and said, I agree with this. Because, 10 years, you're going to agree with, you're talking to your 10-year-old, 10-year prior self every time you're reading something that you've written before. So I had to, filter through that and edit the things that I agreed with and the things that I didn't agree with, or the things that I had a different take on because of experience or whatever else. And then that's what formed The Rational Male in 2011. And here we are in 2015, halfway through to, 2015. And it is what it is. And that's where I'm at right now. I mean, that's how the blog came about. That's how the books came about.
Mhm.
And that's how I, as a writer, came about.
Yeah, I mean, just going to your blog, I don't even think if we can call it a blog. There's like 400, 500 comments under each blog post. There is a lot of discussion. I see you commenting in some of the comments. I don't know if the people you're commenting, just like with my YouTube channel. I know it's a tiny channel, but there is people that I know,
Hmm.
right? And they make certain comments, and you just focus a lot more in the people that you know and their opinions, and some comments just really need addressing, and they just keep the juices flowing in the brain.
Right. Well,
um,
that's that again. That's the part of the dialogue that I like. Um, like I said, I was reluctant to leave the forum format with So Suave because I like the back and forth because it helped me develop more ideas. A lot of the stuff that I have put in the book and a lot of the stuff that I put on my blogs is what I come together with other men, with other guys saying, here's my experience, and I'm from India, or I'm from Japan, or I'm from South Africa, or I'm from the UK, or I'm from the Middle East, or wherever else, and this is my experience. And so I take those things and I put them together into, one, unifying idea, I guess. So that's one of the reasons I was sort of reluctant to leave the forum format and then, put everything into a blog, because once you start a blog, you're the authority of the blog. You're the guy. So, so it becomes something that's a little bit more authoritative, I guess. So, and I hate that, because I'm not the authoritarian. I'm not the guy that's, here, I'm going to tell you the truth. And what I'm giving you is just basically the general idea that I'm getting from other men, and I'm putting together, and I'm just connecting the dots that other people give me. They give me the dots and I put them together.
Yeah, you actually said that in your second book. I just put dots together. Yeah, and I mean, all you have to do is just sit back, listen to everyone, because you can't possibly experience everything. I mean, it's impossible, and then you don't know what the experiences are like in other countries and all that. But putting them all together, it's definitely what the blog is doing.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I mean, in my MGTOW channel, I recommend to people to constantly read your blog. I've recently asked you if I could use the SMV graph that you use in the blog, and I've used it in one of the videos because I personally believe that the grasp of many of the MGTOWs, even some MGTOWs that make content as well regarding hypergamy, regarding its evolving nature through the time, like you put it in the second book, is not brilliant, right? That, to use a good word. So I tried to make a video and use a lot of the knowledge that you dished out, and I think you're spot on when it comes to women. I don't think I ever disagreed with you. You're spot on absolutely everything.
Well, thank you for that. I'm humbled by things like that, because, really all I'm doing is just forming opinions and forming ideas from what I get from other guys and from my own experience of, as well, of course. But I have a Western experience. I live in the United States. I don't live, where everyone else does, from, at least from what I look at in my demographics and my statistics on my blog. But it is an amalgam of, of a lot of men's experience. It's an amalgam of, guys coming together and saying, here's what, what I'm seeing at 28. Here's what I'm seeing at 38. Here's what I'm seeing at 58. And I'm taking that and just basically putting it together into a timeline that's a basic construct. It's not supposed to be some definitive, well, here's how it's going to be, and you just need to follow along. That's the thing that gets me the most, is that a lot of people who criticize the SMV graph, it's like, it was never meant to be some, statistical analysis. It's meant to be an overview. It's meant to be an abstract. It's meant to be something that, sure, maybe you got married at 28, maybe you got married at 33, maybe the woman that you're with right now, she's experiencing her epiphany phase at 29 instead of 27. Okay, I mean, okay, fine, but the basic outline, the basic bell curve still pretty much remains the same, and it still pretty much goes across culture, and it goes across, race, and it goes across, the socioeconomic lines too. I mean, it's the same thing.
Absolutely, and even I would say with regards to hypergamy is every woman. Every woman, unless she was born with a penis, I would say that it's every woman that has hypergamy. So let's just, for a brief overview. I mean, in the second book, you go in great detail, and that's your book that you hear flipping through. You go in great detail regarding hypergamy. The majority of MGTOW, from what I understand, hypergamy is a resource-driven kind of like enterprise that women have. It's an instinctive process that goes through in the back of their minds, and then they pick males accordingly. Now, with regards to the pickup artist community, you mentioned alpha males, beta males, and all that, and that a woman might pick an alpha male or a beta male later on, especially if she has a child, alpha fucks, beta bucks, right? So, but in the second book, you describe hypergamy as something that's changing and the priorities of that process changing. Do you want to run through it, like a brief overview? I don't want you to go through the entire book.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can go read Rational Male Preventative Medicine, um, and you will get the timeline, and you will also get. Well, just to break this down. The second book goes into a timeline of predictable phases that men can expect from women as they are going through their various phases of maturity. Now, I'm not going to dig too much deeper into that simply because I've already done that with the book itself, and I've already done it with Christian McQueen a couple times. But the thing is that most of hypergamy is rooted in the biological aspects of women's sexual nature. Okay, a lot of people say, well, alpha fucks, beta bucks. Okay, great. Those are great abstracts, and those are great simplifications of how women's sexual strategy plans out. But when a lot of guys say, well, how can I be the best alpha? How can I be, an alpha but still be a good provider? How can I be, the thing is I don't want guys to like tear themselves up over abstract concepts. When we talk about alpha males and we talk about beta males, it ends up becoming, an all or nothing kind of prospect. And I don't really want it to be such a thing, simply because that I believe that an alpha mindset is a mindset. It's not a demographic. It's not guys who are leaders. It's guys who are also the drug dealers and the guys who are incarcerated in prison right now. There's plenty of alpha males in prison right now. There's plenty of alpha males who are at your church. There are plenty of alpha males who are, leaders of the community, and there's plenty of alpha males who are sons of bitches. Okay, and that's just how it is. There's no good or bad. It's like people keep saying, well, is hypergamy good or bad? Well, it is what it is. Are you a beta? Well, is being beta bad? Well, yeah, I would say, and at least in my, definition of the abstract, yeah, beta is being, supplicating, and it's being, a kiss up, and that's easy for guys to really grasp. But when it comes down to, well, what do I do about my daughter? What do I do about my mom or my dad? Or there's certain things where you've got a relational context where you're saying, well, am I going to be alpha if I do this, or am I alpha or am I beta if I do that? I don't want guys to tear themselves up over stuff like that, because those concepts that I put out in the book are abstracts, and that's important for guys to get, is that it's all about. I'm trying to put I'm not putting labels on things. I'm just trying to put names in terms to abstract concepts. So when it comes to an alpha guy, yeah, is he a leader? Sure, he's a leader. That's definitely an alpha trait. Is he a son of a bitch, and is he the guy who is, killing people in prison? Yeah, that's an alpha male too. Is it Genghis Khan? Yes. Is it, King Richard? Sure. They're both alpha males. So
yeah, I mean, it's a very abstract concept. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I mean, it's a very abstract concept altogether, alpha, beta. I mean, it's been a conversation because I have been in the background. I have been in the pickup artist community, and then I've moved to the MGTOW community. So I'm aware that people have been discussing this alpha beta thing for years and years, and everyone has their own interpretation. And my interpretation was recently, I mean, between men, like naturally there is more, let's say, a more alpha man within a social group and within work environments and everything, someone that gives orders and people follow, etc. But when it comes to a relationship with a woman, that alpha might become a beta, and it all just goes down to, as far as I understand it, how the woman perceives it. I mean, that's how I said it in one of the videos that I've made. And I don't know what you think about it, whether you can simply create a trait list of what constitutes an alpha and what constitutes a beta. I mean, beta is more or less something that you can think about.
Well, I think primarily an alpha male mindset is a guy who has himself as his first priority. I mentioned this in the second book, and I've mentioned it on my blog post, is that he needs to be his own mental point of origin. And I think that, and I understand that you are, coming from a MGTOW perspective, and I think there is no greater concept for a MGTOW perspective than making yourself your own mental point of origin. And what I mean by that is that you need to understand how things from the outside world, and how things from a woman, and things from your work and from everything else affect you, and what it is that you are going to you take and use for your own advantage. And then, like I said, I'm a big proponent of enlightened self-interest. And what I mean by that is that you can't help anybody until you can help yourself. So if you place yourself as your own mental point of origin, then you can decide who it is and what issues and what things you find important that you want to apply the best of you towards. So so when it comes to MGTOWs, I definitely have an affinity for them, because I understand that they're certainly putting themselves as their own mental point of origin, and that's good, and I'm glad for that. I'm happy that that if anything that I've written filters into the MGTOW mindset, that's good. I hope that filters in there through the entire society or whatever. But my point is this, is that once you have set yourself as your own mental point of origin, then it becomes, well, who am I going to help, and who can I benefit, and who deserves it and who doesn't deserve it, and how can I build a better life for myself, putting myself as my own mental point of origin, because a lot of guys don't do that. From a blue pill standpoint, guys will take their whatever suits them best and say, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to support my girlfriend, or I'm going to support my wife, or I'm going to be very supportive. I'm going to be a sensitive guy, and I'm going to take care of the kids, and I'm going to do this because women have had a really fucked up life, or have a fairly fucked up social situation for the last 60 years, and so I'm going to try to be a different, I want to see the change different in the world, kind of Gandhi bullshit. Okay, fine, good. But the thing is that when you get to a point where it's like, where she's gone off and done her own thing, where does that leave you? Where does that leave the MGTOW? Where does that leave the red pill guy? Where does that leave anybody, really? Because the guys who are the guys who are married and have been Mr. Supportive and Mr. Loyal and Mr. Dutiful, and they come back and they realize what's happened to them. They realize that their role in the plan that has happened up to the point where they're at right now, and they go, well, this is fucked. This is I'm this is not what I had hoped for by being Mr. Supportive. This is not what I had hoped for being Mr. I'm on board with equal pay for equal work. I'm not this equalitarian ideal. Suddenly they get to be 36, 37 years old, when they get to be like I said on my S&B chart, when they find out that their S&B peak has passed them, or they are just getting past it, and they realize, what have I been doing all this time? And it becomes a midlife crisis. And I wrote about that in the second book too, is that a midlife crisis ends up being people, or men coming to a realization that what they've been sold, the blue pill ideal that they've been sold, is a pipe dream. It's just bullshit. And they're going, well, why did I think of that all this time? So I think yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, many of the MGTOWs, or the MGTOW who are fresh into the scene, they come in, they hear everything, this idealistic love that all blue pill men at least have in their minds, loving someone for who they are, staying with them through thick and thin, supporting them, and you expect, like you would do with another man. I mean, you expect that he would repay that in kind, right? That he would come back and tell you, I love you more now, you supported me, stick with you forever through every difficulty that you'd go through. But hypergamy hits hard.
Well, it's what I talked about in the first book. I'll just be real brief. It's called Relational Equity. And a lot of men believe that if they're a good father, if they read to their kids, if they are, they're good guys who go out and mow the lawn and they go out and earn a living and they do everything else, is that they believe that there should be uh, some reconciliation or some sort of recompense for doing all the great things that they are said or they're told that in their blue pill ideals, is that that's what women will appreciate. And women will appreciate you being a good guy. And then I wrote about this in the first book and in a post called Hypergamy Doesn't Care. And basically I ran down a list, and I was kind of being facetious as I did it, but everybody sort of picked up on that, and it's become kind of iconic, I guess, for the rational male, is that hypergamy doesn't care. Hypergamy does not care that you're a great guy. Hypergamy does not care that you're a good father. Hypergamy does not care that you go to work every day and do everything that you're supposed to do, because you're not going to be appreciated for that. And that's just how it is. And in a MGTOW mind frame, I can understand why that's a really fucked up proposition, because you're thinking of things in equalist terms. Well, I should be able to put in 8 hours a day and have 8 hours worth of sex waiting for me at home. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't fucking work that way. And a lot of guys think, well, or they get really indignant, when their women say, oh, well, I'm leaving you because now I'm 38 and I want something different. And our kids are grown, or our kids are at such and such an age, and they get to a point where it's like they realize that the doubt that hypergamy has sort of sown in them is coming to fruition finally. And guys go, well, fuck, I can't believe them. I'm hearing this. I can't believe my wife said this. I can't believe my girlfriend said this. Because I have put in so much time, and I have done everything the blue pill ever told me that I should fucking do. I have done every damn thing. I have done, I've been the guy who has had a steady job, and I have taken care of the kids, and I changed the fucking diapers because I'm a new man, and I'm the guy that does that kind of shit. And I'm not a 1950s chauvinist, and I'll step up to the plate and be as equal as I fucking can. And you know what? She's still fucking leaving. She's still fucking, out the door. And guys are like, well, I can't believe that. And that's what I mean by relational equity. Yeah. Guys think that they have invested a shit ton of time and effort in it, and that's what should keep them together. And you know what? Hypergamy does not care about one fucking thing you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that what you just said, the majority of MGTOW, they agree with it.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this, because from what I understand, well, I've been reading your blog for good going years now, and I've never really read a post that disagrees. I mean, personally, from my understanding of MGTOW, I do know that we suffer by being very very wide in our ideas, let's say, right? There is a lot of people that disagree with many of the things that I say, and there is many people that would agree with what I say. So I would say, I read a blog post that you did, right? And there is a section in the book, wait, 37. Can I read that?
Yeah, go ahead.
On page 37.
Go ahead.
What I have it underlined and everything.
You're the first one to do this too, by the way. I'm glad.
One common misunderstanding most men have about hypergamy is that it requires constant attention to mitigate. Most men, going their own way, follow this logic to some degree, thinking that the effort necessary to contain women's hypergamy means this endless mind reading or jumping through behavioral hoops in order to maintain some balance and harmony in any relationship with a woman. They believe the payoff simply isn't worth the effort, and by their individual case they may be correct. However, what they don't account for is the natural balance already exists between the genders. And we term this in MGTOW, the juice ain't worth the squeeze,
yep.
Right?
Yep. It's funny you should quote that, because I just quoted that in my last post.
Really?
Yeah.
I probably read it.
The juice ain't worth the squeeze. And it's funny, my buddy Ray had told me about that too. He's like, you know what? Is the juice worth the squeeze? And I'm like, I'm going to use that in the next post I do. Yeah.
You say naturally there is a set balance between men and women in with regards to hypergamy. And I do believe you're right. I mean, naturally, the way that I am in relationships, at least speaking for myself, I mean, I don't take no shit. I really don't care. And that's not through pickup artist, reading books or anything like that. I'm myself. If someone's pushing my buttons, I'm gonna push back. I mean, that's my natural inclination. Where do you think, I mean, where do you think the majority of the guys, blue pill world, let's say, have problems with regards to hypergamy? And then we'll move on to the MGTOW and the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Well, I was going to say is that a lot of people think that dealing with women's hypergamy.
Sorry, I'll use hypergamy.
That's cool. Don't worry about it. I get a lot of shit for that. What I was going to say is that I think that a lot of people think that like I said in the book, I think that a lot of people believe that there is this constant effort and there is this constant, dealing with women, and that once it's been exposed to those guys, that they think that it's some sort of thing that they constantly have to keep up. They have to float it. It's like, think of it as a balloon, okay? And you're kind of trying to float that balloon and push that balloon up all the time, and you can't let the balloon hit the ground. And they think that they constantly have to keep that balloon off the ground. And what I'm saying right now is that hypergamy and men dealing with it, men have always dealt with that. Before there was any like preconceived concept of game, before there was any red pill, before there was any Rollo Tomassi, before there was any of that, guys have been dealing with that for a long time. Men in ancient societies have written, all kinds of things about, how to deal with a woman. It's in the Bible. It's in, ancient Chinese scripts. I mean, goddamn. I mean, you could listen or you can read, the emperors of China talking about women. You can listen to, or you can read, people in, guys in Japan talking about their harems and everything else. And what they're doing is they're not floating hypergamy. They're basically saying, here's how it is, and here's how I'm going to be to deal with it. And I think it comes from like guys thinking that they have to keep a constant effort, and guys who think that they have to keep some rote memorization of scripts in their heads. And it doesn't come down to that. It comes down to just being the kind of person who can deal with women. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I'm not saying I got it perfectly. I've been a beta. I've been an omega, according to Vox Day. I've been every classification of dude you can imagine. And right now, if I was to classify myself, I would say I'm probably a lesser alpha, okay? And only because I don't really have any interest to run out there and, lead the charge for, against social justice warriors or whatever. I want guys to live better freaking lives, okay? And
that is a very MGTOW mindset.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, the thing is that I think that guys put too much mental energy, I guess, into thinking that they need to float that balloon and they need to keep it up all the time, when after a point it just becomes something that's internalized. Again, I'm going to say this one more freaking time. I don't game my wife. I don't game, anybody. It's just who I am at this point. It's just the internalized person that Rollo Tomassi has become. Okay. And I don't have to think about, well, what's the red pill response to this shit test, or what is the red pill response to dealing with this person in my work. I don't think like that, man. No, and if you are, God bless you, because I hope you can get to a point where you're not. I hope you can get to a point where things are more, a default response for yourself, or it becomes a part of your own personality, as opposed to thinking about it and worrying about what you're going to do. So, I hope that answers the question a little bit, but I think...
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Now, MGTOW, right? You said that the majority of MGTOW suffer from this. MGTOW, for the most part, I would say that they're red pill awakened. I don't think we would disagree on this.
For sure.
Okay, so red pill awakened, yet they see hypergamy as something they need to be constantly aware of. And I think many of the guys have been taken through the cleaners, right? They've suffered through huge losses financially, emotionally, children being taken away. I've spoken to one of the guys whose wife tried to kill him, right? So, and he barely survived. So many of the guys have emotional trauma that is associated with this, and thinking that they have to keep in mind hypergamy all of the time, it's something that you just don't want to deal with.
Right.
Is that your position with regards to MGTOW, that there is kind of like that sort of a relationship almost?
I've said this on various posts and podcasts and my books as well, is I definitely have a perspective when it comes to MGTOWs. Is I understand the want and I understand the reaction, because the red pill is basically a reaction to what's been going on in the realization, I guess, of hypergamy. After the sexual revolution, guys have adapted to the social situations and how to get with a girl or how to change their game, since the sexual revolution. Well, I think that MGTOWs is also a progression from that. Okay. I think that it's funny, as I talk to guys on the MGTOW forums, and I have a definite affinity for these guys. My concern mostly with MGTOWs is that I don't want to promote an idea that they should be isolationists. That's my main concern with MGTOWs. I understand the want, and I understand that even if you are a married guy and you want to place yourself as your own mental point of origin, that's technically a MGTOW, state of mind. Is if you're going to say, here's what's best for me, and you're on board with my frame, or you're not, then you're out. Then I understand how that can fit into a MGTOW frame of mind. And that's definitely what I agree with. And if you read Mental Point of Origin, which is in the second book, and it's also on my blog, you'll understand that that is primarily a MGTOW standpoint. And I think I got the most traffic from MGTOWs after I wrote that one post that ended up in the book. And I was going to say is that is a fundamental MGTOW way of thinking, is that I am going to be the most important person. I'm going to be the most important thing in my life. And if I'm going to go and change my career, or if I'm going to go and move to a different country, or if I'm going to go and take this job, or if I'm going to go and follow my passions and do what I want to do, and if there's a girl that wants to do that with me, great. If not, fine. I'm good either way. And I think that is fundamentally a MGTOW point of view. What I get into a little bit of the weeds with MGTOW is then isolating yourself and holding yourself back from a full, for lack of a better term, human experience, because you think, okay, well, I'm just going to have escorts, or I'm just going to fuck hookers, or I'm just going to fuck, whoever comes along who's willing to do so. And I'm going to do my own thing. And if they want to fuck me, fine. If they don't want to fuck me, great. And if I need to get my sexual needs met through an escort or whatever, then I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that ends up becoming, if you take that mindset to its extreme, it ends up becoming, well, I'm just going to jerk off and watch porn and, get my sexual needs met. And then I'm going to go learn how to code, or I'm going to go learn how to do this, or I'm going to go learn how to be, whoever. And I'm cool with that, whatever. But the extreme end of that is it means that you're still on your own and you're still isolated, and isolation is dangerous. I'm going to quote a law of power here. Okay, isolation is dangerous, and I admire the mindset of MGTOWs. I really do, but I think that there is a danger in MGTOW. The MGTOW mindset, in that you separate yourself from society, you separate yourself from contact. And I think that in the fullness of a human experience, you need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to talk to women. You need to be able to talk to men. You need to be able to talk to me and you and whoever the L, you know, your employer, whoever else. You need to be able to have a social, you know, interaction with people. And if your mindset is interrupting that, then you need to reevaluate your mindset. I'm not saying
Yeah.
MGTOW is bad. I think MGTOW is actually a primary red pill fundamental. I just think that taken to its extreme, then it ends up becoming hookers and escorts and everything else. And I live in Nevada, man. I know where fucking hookers are. Okay. I mean, I know where guys can go get fucking laid anytime they want to get laid. So, and guys don't do that. You know, guys in Nevada, you know, yeah, we can go see a strip club. We can go to Vegas. We can go to Reno. We can go wherever the fuck we want to go. But we don't. I mean, there's guys that'll do that, but then there's the vast majority of guys go, I don't want to do that. And why? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would agree with you. I would agree with you in terms that the MGTOW mindset can go to extreme levels where you might be seclude yourself completely from society, like you say. You can become very minimalistic. You can just shy women completely and all that. Personally, because I've spoken to many of the guys, they told me what they were going through before, what they're going through now, and all that. I think it's almost like a phase, maybe for some of the guys at least, because I've spoken to a lot of them that want to move on to trying again with women and all that. And I think having a MGTOW mindset is very good, at least for getting women. Not that that is the prime goal. I think from how I see it, at least, if being a self-actualized male should be the prime goal. Your needs above everyone else. Like I think you call it an alpha mindset. An alpha mindset, let's say. So having an alpha mindset and then just go about your life however you please to do that. And I understand your concerns, and there are many concerns, especially when I speak to some MGTOW who are completely socially isolated. And one of my prime concerns with them is that, I mean, I've read the studies. I'm a doctor. I'm very well aware what the concerns might be with regards to that. Social isolation, depression, substance abuse, everything is related to that, right? And you might go down a very dark path. Now, there is many guys who are very happy with that, very happy. And with those guys, I understand it. I understand the mindset. If they're happy, since, like you say, you only live once, if that's their way to be happy, so be it. So be it. And I don't judge their choices. I'm not saying you do either, but I perfectly understand. I think speaking to some of the guys, reading, well, understanding what they're going through and the fact that they've been hurt so much sometimes that they completely want to isolate themselves completely, then they might reach a point where they feel maybe all right with themselves or feel fed up and they want to try again and they want to go back, maybe the game, maybe interacting with people. And there is a community. I think there is a lot of community that takes place. Many guys talk with each other, they share their experiences, so it's not an isolation in how it's envisioned from the outside. I don't think that exists as much as people put out. And I think Barbarossa has a relationship, who is a prominent MGTOW, Barbarossa is. I'd certainly engage with females a bit more than I should. Another friend, Dark Knight, he engages with females a lot more than he should, and I tell him off every now and then. So I don't. The MGTOW mindset, for its most part, is not exclusive of women, although some people may argue completely the opposite, and I think those people are wrong. Well, I think to be able to have a full life, you need to be able to experience what you want to experience, whatever that might be.
And that's where it comes down to, is what is your full human experience? Okay. I have a lot of guys. I wrote a post. It's not in the book, but if you go look it up on my blog, I have a post that says you need sex. Okay. And there is a social impetus that says, oh, well, guys, you don't need sex. It's not a physical need. It's not like oxygen. It's not like food. It's not like water. But no, you know what it is? It is necessary. Sex is necessary for men. Okay, sex with a woman, and hopefully it's a good-looking woman, and hopefully it's a it's a great experience for you. But you know what? You need that. You need sex as a part of a full human existence. And I go into a little bit of detail in that post, in that I think that there's a lot of guys who I know from the Christian manosphere, or the Christo manosphere, um, who say, you know what, I'm holding out until I can find a virgin. And these guys are like my age, okay? I mean, these guys are friggin' in their mid 40s. And they're going,
Where are they gonna
well,
find a virgin?
exactly. And and I understand that, and I understand the realities of that, and I understand why they want to do that, and I understand the convictions behind that. But it's like, you know what? You're crippling yourself. You're crippling yourself in that belief. Yeah, great. I'm gonna hold out until I find a friggin' virgin, and she can't have had any other dude before me, and she's got to be this, and she's got to be that, and she's got to have a BMI of, 18, and she's got to have a body fat percentage of, 8%, and you run down all of these specifics, and the thing is that these guys just I won't say it pains me, but it pains me to think about that their requirements are so, stratospheric that they would say, well, I need to have a virgin, and she's got to be this. And wow, I know I'm almost 50 now, but I'm still looking for that 18-year-old virgin. And
It's a buffer, isn't it?
well, yeah, technically it's a buffer, but it's a buffer because they don't want to have to actually go out and relate. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm offering the extreme example of things. The guys who are in the Christo manosphere who say there's nothing acceptable except for a virgin bride. Okay, fine. If you get it, and you want to blog about it, please inform me, and I will be happy to, like it and comment about it. I'll be happy to be the first one to do that. But until you do that, the thing is that there's such a standard, there's such a, and this is an ideological standard. It's not necessarily a practical, pragmatic standard. Yeah, would we all like to have a virgin bride? Sure, we will. But the thing is that that's not going to happen. And to me, the guys who are doing so, or the guys who will say, I'm not going to do that, seem to me crippled. And I want to say crippled because it seems like somebody who's lost a limb, or somebody who's lost an ability in themselves that they should have to have a full human experience. And that sounds real touchy-feely and bullshitty, new agey shit, but it really is. I mean, you lack fundamental quality or a fundamental experience that other people have had. Like, if I'm 47 years old. If I were to meet somebody who said, I'm a 47-year-old virgin, I'd go, fuck, dude, what's wrong with you? I would be like, what happened? Why haven't you had sex yet? Why didn't you have sex at 17 or 16 or 22 when I did? Why did you not have sex then? Why, you have lacked some experience in this ride that we call, existence that everyone else had. Why are you doing that? Well, I couldn't do it because I needed to have a virgin, or I needed to have this, or I needed to have that. And okay, fine, but at the very least, go buy a hooker. Go to a whorehouse. But why are you? What is it about you that is making you say that I'm a virgin and I'm cool about it, even though I'm 50 years old? Which is, to me, that seems like somebody who's crippled, crippled because they haven't had the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I like it a bit too much. I mean, personally.
Yeah.
I like it a bit too much, personally speaking, and I probably would never stop. As soon as I tried, I kept using it.
Oh.
I mean, I'm one of those people, definitely, and I'm well known, at least within the MGTOW community, about that. But with regards to that, what you said, I mean, you were specifically talking about in the Christian manosphere, people that didn't do it because of a certain belief system or whatever. I am familiar with, there is certain guys within MGTOW, true force loneliness. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Oh,
the term.
I am well aware of those guys.
Yeah. What is your opinion with regards to that?
I think that that is a self-inflicted wound, is what that is. When it's guys who, there comes a point where it's like, I'm not getting laid, and it's everyone else's fault that I'm not getting laid. Okay. I think that a lot of the true force loneliness stuff that has come out, and yes, God, man, you're the first one who's ever said this to me, so I'm glad you did, because I'm about to tell you some shit here. The thing about true force loneliness is that it's for the people who don't even know what it is, because a lot of it, I remember when that first came out, and I remember reading about it on So Suave, and I remember seeing the yes milady kind of shit, and I just could not believe what I was seeing, because from a red pill perspective, I'm like, you guys still don't get it. You still don't get that you are in a game that is based on hypergamy. You still don't get it, because when it comes to a blue pill, they're all wrapped up in a blue pill perspective, and what that true force loneliness comes from is from themselves, and it becomes something that they generate on their own. And that's probably the worst end of MGTOW that I hope that MGTOWs don't go to. I hope they don't go to true force loneliness, where it comes.
They don't.
Yeah, I know that. I realize that, and that's funny, because I haven't even heard that expression for probably like 3 or 4 years now. But there was a while where people were putting out videos on YouTube about that, and they were trying to build themselves up, and they were trying to build their egos up, and they were trying to build their reputation up based on the fact that they were so committed to a blue pill perspective that they were going to put out videos and whatever else, so that they could prove that they were the blue pill ideal, and that women who were still dedicated, as if they ever were still dedicated to that blue pill ideal, would come to them and say, oh, okay, true forced loneliness guy, I'm sorry. Here's your final reward. Here's your final, here's the final payout for you being so dedicated to that. And it's bullshit. And the reason you don't hear about that anymore is because that doesn't exist. I mean, guys who were in that movement probably have moved on to something else.
Well, many of them have come to the MGTOW community, and in a way, that attraction that some people have with regards to maybe not getting laid, or shying women altogether. I mean, for those guys, it is a choice. Being a MGTOW is a choice with regards to what you do with your life. This is the red pill perspective. This is how women operate. Find who you are as a person. Find what you like to do with your own life. Go out and achieve that if you want, right? Mm-hmm. Understand who you are as a person, and then do with that life, your life, be in charge of your life. Stop moaning, stop complaining, and then with your life.
Make yourself your own mental point of origin. That is I would say, if I had to distill everything in the MGTOW movement down to one statement, make yourself your own mental point of origin. And a lot of guys don't get that. And if you are conditioned to a blue pill reality, everything is outside yourself. Everything is extrinsic, okay? Meaning everything is going outward. So you're going to satisfy this person. You're going to make sure that this woman is treated equally. If I were to nail down one mindset to the social justice warrior type thing, that mindset is extrinsic for men, certainly for men, okay? Because it's always, well, I need to make her equal. I need to make sure that I am less so she is more, okay? I need to make myself less so that person is more. That is the social justice warrior mindset, okay? Mm-hmm. And I understand why that is. I understand the logic in that, but the thing is that that doesn't pay off. That doesn't help you become a better person. That does not help you help other people. And like I said before, my personal mindset is enlightened self-interest. Okay, so if I can help myself first, and then I can help other people, or I'm a better judge of character because of that, then that's where I want to go with it. That's where I want to say, okay, I am the best person I can be, or for now, I'm the best person that I can be. So I'm going to help so and so. Or this guy's asking me to, help him out with a bill. This guy's helping, wants me to help him out with something else. Or I'm going to go and, mow this other guy's lawn, which is what I just did a few minutes ago. And, those things, it's like I can do that because I make myself my personal point of origin. My own self-interest is where my mental point of origin is. And that is the one thing that when it comes to MGTOWs, yes. If you are a married guy, you can still be MGTOW. If you're a married guy...
Well, we have a different acronym for it. It's we call them awakened while married, in a way.
Right, exactly. Well, but here's the thing is, for the guys who are MGTOW and who are listening to this right now, okay, I live in a pretty good marriage. And my marriage is one where it's focused on me. When I told my wife, hey, you know what, we're going to move to Orlando because that's where my job is, and that's where where I'm want to be relocated to, and that's that's the reality. My wife didn't go to me and she didn't say, well, my family's here, and my mom is here, and my career is here, and my friends are here. You know what she said to me? She said, when are we going? That's what she said. And we went there and we lived in Florida for 8 years. And we came back to Nevada after that, and she follows along because I am the mental point of origin for myself, and externally that ends up becoming where my wife is, where my daughter is, where my friggin' dogs are, okay? Where everyone around me is. So it's not like I'm so super self-important that I can't, relate to other people, but I am still my mental point of origin, and other people benefit from it. So, like when I hear people talk about, oh, masculinity this or masculinity that, it's like, I believe in a positive masculinity. I believe that a man can be a masculine man, and he can be positive in that masculinity instead of ridiculous, instead of stupid, instead of, Archie Bunker, instead of, married with children. That kind of stuff. I really honestly believe that you could still be a positively masculine man, and women will respond to that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, I agree that you can. I mean, in my book, I made a video about this actually, and I was wondering what masculinity would be for myself, and I defined my own masculinity. That's how I see it. Again, that mental point of origin. I'm my own mental point of origin, like you said, and I define what I believe being masculine, or me being a masculine male is for myself. And I'm just wondering, I mean, with regards to you, what is your definition of this broad term that doesn't have a definition at all anywhere when you look for it?
Well,
what is masculinity?
I will say this, is that masculinity, that's a very interesting question, because masculinity for the last few years has been defined by the feminine imperative. Okay? I go into this in my book a little bit, but I think if the third book that I'm going to do eventually, well, I shouldn't say that, because it's actually in the second book a little bit.
That's where the question comes from.
Yeah. What I was going to say is that masculinity ends up becoming something ridiculous, and it becomes something that most guys don't want to deal with. They don't want to say, well, I'm a man. Like, they have a really tough time saying, I'm a man. They say, yeah, I'm a dude, I'm a guy, I'm a boy, I'm whatever. But if you say, I'm a man and this is what I think, if you say, I'm a man, that's fucking revolutionary. If you go and you say, I'm a man to a woman, if you go and say, I'm a man to anyone, that is hardcore. It's hardcore now because it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to say, I'm a man. It's so ridiculous to say I'm masculine or I possess the qualities of manhood. If I say that, suddenly I'm ridiculous. Suddenly I'm a fucking, freak for having said that. And I think that the reason for that is because guys have come to I don't know, a subliminal or maybe they've been conditioned to this or whatever, but
Hmm.
like they believe that manhood is something to be ridiculed. They believe that to stand up and to be a masculine guy is something that well anybody can do that, right? Because girls can do that, right? We have a soccer team, a women's soccer team that can go out and be better men than men, right? And it's bullshit because when you really think about it, it's bullshit. But the thing is that when it comes to manhood and when it comes to masculinity, that masculinity has been defined by the feminine imperative. It's been defined by women who want guys to fulfill a role. They want you to fulfill a particular role and they want you to be they want you to kill bugs and they want you to kill fucking mosquitoes and spiders when it's necessary. But then they want you to back down and be like, a pussy. They want you to back down and they want you to be a pacifist and they want you to not to make waves. But they really do want you to make waves. They really
Yeah.
want you to send that, whatever they want you to send that meal back to the chef and say this isn't good enough at the restaurant. They want you to be that guy who's going to be particular, but they don't want you to be an asshole. And you see what I'm getting at? They want you to be a balance between these two, and it's bullshit because what they're doing is they're defining what masculinity is or should be for you because it's based in their context. They want masculinity to be um, hardcore and muscular and I'm going to lift this fucking couch for you right now and move it to where you want to. But you know what? No, masculinity is not quite that. Masculinity is going to be, well, I'm going to raise my son and make sure that he's okay being a sensitive, moral guy. And it's bullshit. It's just bullshit. And what comes down to is that masculinity is what men make masculinity. Okay? Women will respond to masculinity. They will respond to a man being a fucking man, like in a conventional sense. Okay? If I am the guy who is turning down something at a restaurant or I'm walking my dogs and a fucking pit bull comes up to my dogs and I'm there going, no. And I'm there going, if I'm telling that dog to go home, or if I am grabbing that dog by the scruff of the collar and I'm, manning up, according to them, I'm manning up and grabbing that, and I'm right there in the moment doing what I'm doing as a guy, women will respond to that. But if you take that out of context and you take that situation and you put it into a situation where women are going to talk about it and they're going to analyze it, then suddenly, well, why does he have to be that way? Why does he have to be sensitive? Or why does he have to be this? What your masculinity is what you define it as. And I think that's the most important message that guys need to understand is that you, as a man, need to be the guy. Okay? You need to be the man. And women will respond to that into I want to say a conventional sense, okay? In that you are going to man up in a situation where there's danger or where there is some point where you need to stand up and be a dude, okay? That's where it happens.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I would say that I agree with you. I mean, the man up term is something that they don't enjoy using in MGTOW, and I
Yeah.
understand why. Because man up is what the feminists used to
Right.
tell men, go and do this, go and do that, and then, oh, why are you being so butch or whatever. It's almost I understand the social imperative and how feminists or men right now understand masculinity, it's almost a really strange bipolar existence where, you know, you have to be really butch in certain situations, then you have to be really sensitive in other situations. And you understand, when you look at that, you understand that this definitely came out of a female mindset, because it
Right.
makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Right.
And you are either one or the other. I mean, we all have combinations of both, but predominantly a person is going to be what a person is going to be. You're not going to change, or, and we try very hard to, I mean, I say I used to try hard to accommodate women, and their ridiculous ideas regarding masculinity, and you know, their shaming tactics and all that. I no longer care. I really don't care anymore, and I just do my own thing. And if they don't like it, well,
Because
it doesn't really matter.
because that's where your frame is. Okay.
Yeah.
You have your own mental point of origin, and your frame is focused on yourself. And I go into that in both of the books. But what I was going to say, I mean, just real quickly, is that there is a definite social push to define what masculinity is within a feminist or a feminine priority context, or a feminist frame. I put this in the second book, and I also put it in a post that's from the second book. And there is a documentary by a woman, of course, who went into the, I mean, the title of the documentary is The Masks That Men Wear, The Masks That Boys Wear, okay? And what that was, is that was an effort to define what men think they are, okay? And what I mean by that is, like, when you're playing football, and I mean like American football, and
both European, right?
Yeah, exactly. When you're playing football, and when you're in a well, I shouldn't even say football, because when you're playing team sports as a man, okay, there is a certain dependency upon the group or the whole, where men are expected to be men, okay? They're expected to put forth, what they say is what they are, okay? That's what they should be. And when that becomes something that women think is abusive, or that when that becomes something that, well, it crushes boys' spirits when you do that, or when you say that you need to have some sort, you know, everybody wants a trophy.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants a trophy for participation, right? And I mean, I understand that, but you know what? That doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't mean anything to guys. And what's interesting is that most boys, and the guys that I have counseled who are in their, you know, teenage years, understand this. They understand that a participation trophy is bullshit, and yet they're still supposed to feel like they're okay because they're included. And it's this socialist, equalist mentality where everybody who participates is a winner, and that's not how things work out. And I think, honestly, that's where the difference between the MGTOW mindset comes against this equalist mindset. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Can I transfer to a really strange question?
Okay.
Because you're talking to young men, you're advising young men all the
Yes.
time, and I believe you're definitely know a lot more about what's going on right now within the pickup scene and going out and dating and all that. I'm gonna say something. I know you're not familiar with the talk, but Stardust and Professor Mills.
Yeah.
Professor Mills is evolutionary psychology. I'm sure you're familiar with him. They were talking about relationships and the future of relationships and what's going on right now. And he suggested that right now we're exhibiting a stage where there is a lot of polygamy going around, right? And when societies reach this stage of polygamy, I mean, the way that I see it, there is few men that are very happy and a lot of men who are just not very happy with what's going on right now.
It's the 80-20 rule. Yeah.
Yeah. So when societies go through something like this, they become a lot more violent. And historically, world wars have happened when the amount of men have risen to a certain point in time. And right now, we're at that point in time, and I'm not trying to bring any conspiracy theories or any shit like that, but you have let's say an on-the-ground experience, where with regards to guys, what's going on out there. What is your experience? What is your prediction about how things will evolve or devolve in the future with regards to relationships and men and women?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because right now, as we're talking, there is a protest of sorts in Canada, which is Rush's thing right now.
Yeah.
And I will just briefly address that in the sense that what he's doing right now is basically a troll. He's basically looking for publicity. He's more interested in publicity than he really is in free speech. So I'm just going to drop that out here right now. As far as reaching peak manhood, I guess, or peak, I want to say peak fertility, I guess. I think that the point here is that I think that most guys don't understand where they're at when it comes to this situation with guys being in a peak sense. I know I'm kind of reaching for words right here, but
well, take your time.
Yeah, I'm reaching for words, but I think that where we're at right now, I mean, it's interesting that I'm saying peak because I'm thinking peak oil, or I'm thinking peak dynamics from a political sense, and
it is from what I see, it's like maybe I say the price of dick has plummeted. The price of pussy, from what I understand, has also plummeted, but the price of pussy with regards to a suitable mate, as men understand it, has risen to exponential levels. I mean, as the situation is right now. So I understand where you're going with this. And with regards to Rush, I disagree with him on a lot of things. But I thought that the Montreal thing had to go forward for freedom of speech sake. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I was going to say about, I mean, as far as Rush is concerned, I think that the sum total of his his time in Canada is basically about publicity, and and I get it. That's fine. If he wants to troll, and if he wants to, turn Canada into a manosphere versus social justice warriors, and you want to turn it into some Gamergate type thing, great. Okay, fine. I get that. But don't try to drag the entire manosphere down with you while you're doing that. And there's a lot of equity that is built up with, a lot of writers and a lot of the guys who are like I said, I put everything together from guys who are, helping me connect the dots. And a lot of people are, or a lot of guys are giving me more and more dots all the time. So it kind of frustrates me to see, this public, or this publicity, grab all the time with regards to Rush. But I was going to say is that, are we at peak dick? Are we at peak pussy? I don't know. It's hard to say, because when I look at Tinder, or I look at the Tinder fashions, or I look at the things, when you boil it down to just very simplistic terms, where women can left swipe or right swipe on a guy that they want to have sex with, that they don't want to have sex with, all that tells me is that hypergamy is a real thing. Okay, all that does is back up what I've been saying for forever. Okay, I've been saying that hypergamy, when it comes to short-term sexual relations, is all about looks. It's all about physicality. It's all about being in the right place at the right time. When I wrote the post, and it's in the book, when I wrote wait for it, where women are telling guys, oh well, if I felt comfortable with you, then I'd have sex with you. It's bullshit. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
about that. It's about fucking a guy, in the foam cannon party at Cancun, on spring break, and the opportunity being there. And it's the same dynamic. That was funny, and it made a lot of sense back in 2010. But here we are in 2015, and we have Tinder, who is which is showing us that women will left swipe or right swipe on a guy depending on how good he looks, or how suave the guy is, or whatever. It's all comes down to physicality, and that is one side of hypergamy. That is the alpha fucks side of hypergamy. And I think that as we progress, and what to get back to what the point that you were saying, is that I think that as we progress, more guys will be more and more aware of this. More guys will be aware of the alpha fucks, beta bucks dynamics. I call this the Sandbergian model for hypergamy, meaning that when women are in their 20s, fuck the bad boys, fuck the guys who are the bad guys for them, fuck the guys who are, the hot dudes that they met at the club. Fuck those guys, because eventually, when you're 29 years old, there will be a nice beta guy who is ready to, have a equal partnership with you when you are, ready to have that. And I think that that comes back to a lot of what you were saying before, is that the strategy still keys in to the feminine strategy. It still keys in to women's dualistic sexual strategy.
Hmm. Absolutely. And how about, would you think that things would remain in the way that they are now? Do you expect them to evolve into something, maybe that you swipe something else, maybe a real person in front of you? Do you think, I mean, right now, and I will give you this example. The last sexual partner that I had was like 4 weeks, and I know it's a long time for me, but I'm taking a break. 4 weeks ago, and I had to push that girl away because she was slightly insane. But at the end of the day, that girl, I wanted to just have a look what's going on with regards to Tinder and her. And I would do a right swipe on everyone, and she would do a right swipe, which is like yes to everyone as well, right?
Right.
So she would get match, 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 and it would just go on. I was shocked at one occasion, after 5 minutes, she got one guy to not match with her. It's one of those accidental left swipes that guy did. But with me, I was just doing right swipe, and I was getting almost nothing, right? And then you get your matches every now and then. I think that's where the situation is right now. Women have the price of dick, as I put it before, has plummeted, right? But again, I think there is almost like an instinct within us to not have a very used pussy with regards to if you're going to get serious. And there is actually evidence as to why that is. And it's not to do with diseases or anything like that. They've recently discovered that there might be an epigenetic mechanism that alters the DNA of females. So maybe your child is not really 100% your child.
Well, I was going to say is that when guys are dealing with alpha widows, okay, when guys are dealing with a woman who has had a guy who was the ultimate dude to her, you're always playing catch up, okay? You're always going to be the guy who is trying to be better than that dude. And even if you don't even know who that guy is, even if you don't know, I had a post called "Saving the Best," and in that post there was a woman who had sex with like multiple partners, and the guy who was posting about it, or the guy who had the I guess the complaint about it, was going into how he had found a video of her having sex with a bunch of guys. And
oh yeah, I've read that.
Yeah, you probably read that. And I was going to say, the he has gone into detail about how, how she had sex with these dudes, and she is still a prude and still not into it with him. And I think that a lot of dudes need to understand the fundamental point that women, most women, especially now, are going to be alpha widows to some degree. And what that means is that if you're a guy and you've met a woman at 28 years old or 29, maybe 32 years old, that woman has probably had a lot of sexual experience before you. So what does that mean? That means that there's some guy that has made an impression upon her who is her alpha impression. Okay, there's probably a dude who was more into it, who she was more hot for, who she was more, the sexual memory of that guy was that's what I'm talking about or that's the point I make when I talk about alpha widows, is that that guy made the impression upon her so strongly that you are not going to be able to, well, maybe not be able to, but that's the benchmark. That's the goal, or the height that you are going to have to create with that woman. So when you're 29 some odd years old and she's looking for, Mr. Stable and Mr. Dependability, that's the guy that you're going to have to compete against. So when you
And dependability is not sexy.
no, no. That's the opposite side. Okay, and I'm gonna reveal a little bit of my my lecture here for the Las Vegas event that I'm going to do. And what that means is that I think that women's sexuality, women's biological sexuality, predisposes them towards hypergamy. And what I mean is that in a sexual sense, in a biological sense, when it comes down to ovulation, when it comes down to ovulatory shift, where women are more attracted to men who are more masculine during their ovulatory phase, and they are more attracted or more comfortable with men with feminine features when they are in their when they are in their down phase of the menstrual cycle. That is the fundamental basics of what we're talking about. So everything that you're talking about, it gets all the way back to that biological truth. Okay, when it comes to the cyclic truths of women's, what they want in their ovulatory phase, what they want in their down phase, that is what defines men and women in society. And it's a really great truth when you think about it, because there are so many guys who think that, well, I don't know how I can figure out if she's in her up phase or if she's in. You know what? You don't have to, because you're a dude and you have an instinctual awareness of whether that girl is, if you look at how she's dressed. That's the thing that kills me, is about this feminist shit where they're saying, well, we're going to go on slut walks and we're going to go and we're going to put on, slutty outfits and we're going to go walk down the street. Well, you know what you're doing? You're basically imitating yourself being in that ovulatory phase of, of your menstrual cycle. So guys pick up on that, and they pick up on that socially, and they pick up on that personally, and they pick up on that, just from an individual sense, where they see, well, this chick, she's wearing lingerie. She's wearing, garter belts. She's wearing, a half shirt. She's wearing something that looks hot. So guys pick up on that. And yet we're still supposed to societally say that this is not, we're all equal, so she should be able to wear whatever the hell she wants to, and you should just still be able to control yourself. But the problem is that, guys, it's not about control. It's about those cues and those triggers when you see a girl who's dressed in a certain way, or you see a girl who's dressed as if she is advertising that she is fertile. Guys go, fuck, I'm going to go and hit this chick. or I'm going to go see this girl at a club, or I'm going to go do whatever I'm going to do. And that ends up being a social movement. So you've gone from the biological to the individual to the social, where guys are just like, well, I see a girl and she's dressed in a certain way, so therefore she is indicating or she's signaling to me that she's fertile. And that, triggers guys basic, you go back to the basic biological, sense that those guys want to fuck the chick who is individually and then sociologically available to fuck.
It's well, they've done even experiments with strippers, and they found out that they get more tips when they're ovulating.
Yes.
So there is something there, instinctual. I mean, pheromones, we don't have really the sensors for it, so I don't know what it is. There is something instinctual that we pick up on, and definitely you go in great depth actually in your chapter, Your Friend Menstruation, which I really like, and it's good that it's chapter 1. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. It's these slut walks, the dresses that women wear, they are their way to signal to a man that maybe she's ovulating, maybe she's available. And you don't know, you just pick up on the signals and then you go and hit on them, and that's a sexual harassment lawsuit. I mean, there is so many things that can go wrong, especially when right now it's a movement. Apparently, it's something that I completely don't understand.
But here's the contradiction. The contradiction is that in an equalist society, that we are, as men, supposed to say, okay, well, she's dressing like a slut. That's okay. She should be able to do that. That's all cool, and I shouldn't respond to that. That is the equalist ideal. But as a man, in reality, in human biology, I look at a girl who's dressed up like a slut, and I go, right on.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go. And I want to bang that girl. But from an equalist point of view, I'm supposed to say, no, it's okay. She should be able to do whatever the hell she wants to do.
Well, she's able to do whatever the hell she wants to do, but I'm going to approach. I mean, that's how things should realistically be. And I mean, men catcall.
Right.
And apparently that right now is a crime as well.
Crime, yeah.
It's turning, they're basically creating laws against male biology. That's what it seems to be right now. As from everything that I keep seeing on media, on the news, I just don't understand it. And I think if this continues, we would be living in a totally different system in many years. And I mean, I personally think that at some point men will have enough, and then I don't know what will happen. I really don't know. Hopefully I won't be alive, so I won't have to experience it.
Well, a lot of people are saying that MGTOWs are going to end up going the robo-sex route, and I'm sure you're probably aware of that.
Yep, of course.
And I don't necessarily agree with that. And the reason is I think technology will never be able to fully, replicate. I mean, well, certainly not within my lifetime, but maybe your lifetime or whoever's lifetime. But I don't think that there will be that sensation and that tactile sensation with another woman. Mm-hmm. But I just principle-wise, I think that to say that, well, you'd be okay with a substitute. You would be okay if there was some artificial way for you to be satisfied sexually, to be satisfied romantically. I'm going to point back to the movie called Her. Okay, are you familiar?
Good movie. Good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, so that the guy is having a relationship with a virtual reality or a virtual AI experience with
operating system. It was
exactly.
Yeah.
If you watch that, in a sense, I was like really sickened by watching that. But then in another sense, I'm like, Yeah, I get it. I understand. Because I get that that's what guys are looking for. That's what, because men are the true romantics. Men want that. That's our idealized, conceptualized best situation, I guess, when it comes to love. They want a woman who's going to take care of them. They want a woman who's going to say, hey, you know what, your appointment with so and so is at such and such a time. You know, they want to be in love with Siri. You know, they want to be in love with an artificial intelligence, an artificial woman who is going to not only tell them when their appointments are, but to tell them, hey, you know what, you're a good dude. You know, you're okay. I love you. You know, and they want that special, you know, connection with the feminine. And that's what kills me is that that's not available to them. That, you know, especially in the age of Tinder, it's just like, hey, you're hot, come over and fuck me. Oh, left swipe. Okay, that's all. That's what it ends up becoming. But these guys, they don't want that. They want her. They want the artificial intelligence that's in, you know, in that movie. They want.
We call it male mother need. I mean, it's that interaction,
Right.
and mother is the clue there. Someone that actually cares and loves you,
well,
no matter what you do.
Well, when guys go to a strip club, yeah, you see a hot chick, but you know what else? You know what you're paying for? You're paying for a woman to say, I don't care what your burden of performance is. I don't care how much money you've made. I don't care how, you know, what you drove to the strip club today. I don't care about that. I just care about, you know, giving you a lap dance. I just care about, you know, and it's false. Yes, it's entirely false. But it bypasses the burden of performance. It bypasses everything. When a woman comes to you and she puts her hand on you and she does keno, when a woman initiates keno, guys are like, holy shit, here's a woman that's initiating keno, you know, and they can't believe it. And they go to a strip club and here's a girl who's showing them, you know, here's a woman who's showing them, you know, her pussy, but she looks at that, or he looks at that, and he says, damn, this woman really cares enough about me to show me her pussy.
Even though you're paying.
And it's not about the actual act. It's about the intent of the act. And I think that a lot of guys really, and I hate to drag this once again back to big towels, but I think that guys who are, I think men, as I've said, in the past, and I've written, you know, many times before, men are the true romantics. Okay, we want to be romantic. We want women to want us for our romantic gestures. We want women to say, oh, it's date night. Oh, you're going to do this? Oh, great. I'm going to reciprocate by fucking the shit out of you. But that's not how it works. And it's the same thing with the stripper at the strip club. Okay, she's going to show you her pussy. She's going to, you know, touch you. She's going to, you know, be happy to give you that human connection. But you know what? That connection comes at a price. And that's the difference. And guys have to make the connection between the price and the act itself. And not just with strippers, but with their wives, with their girlfriends, with whoever else it is that they're dealing with.
Well, I think many of the MGTOWs have done calculations, and I think, I mean, I've discussed this with a friend of mine who was telling me if I get an escort once a week, it will come out cheaper in the end than me having a, and when you think about it, the performance that you have to put into and you have to constantly put into with women and all that, you can definitely see why people might choose a different woman, a better looking woman every time that will come every week just to serve them. And I understand that.
It's practicality. It is pragmatism. It is deductive logic. If I put X into the slot machine, X should come out. Okay? And that's what guys think, and that's what I mean about relational equity. Okay, if I put X in, X should come out. It's return on investment. And And guys don't understand that return on investment when it comes to women is not the same as being in or a business relationship with someone else. Okay, it's completely different because hypergamy does not care about your investment. It doesn't care. Hypergamy does not care about ROI. It cares about itself, and it cares about, um, what's going to best serve the woman in the feminine imperative. But hypergamy does not care about ROI.
Absolutely. I agree completely with what you said. And I think men should, all men, I mean, I say this all the time, all men should at least be red pill aware. Red pill aware, all of them. From 5 years old, start talking to them, right? I mean, I've been lucky, and my parents, for some strange reason, and family members of mine have been throwing red pills at me, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I still went ahead and did mistakes, but the reality didn't come as difficult, let's say, as as I would expect it if I had no concept of that understanding. Can I read something from your book?
Sure.
I really like this extract from your book, and this is to do with single men. Um, and I think it's, what chapter is it? Let me see. 1 second. Okay, The Curse of Potential.
Mhm.
And it comes from that chapter. And I quoted it recently in one of the videos. And I like it because it speaks to a man, single man, on his own, at the peak of his potential, that he can do whatever he pleases. In your mid-20s, you're at the apex of your potential with regards to the direction you will influence your life to go. I'm not going to make any friends by pointing this out, but what pisses off most serial monogamists is the unspoken regret of having assumed responsibilities of what monogamy demands before they truly understand their potential. If you're single at 35 with a moderate amount of personal success, you're the envy of most men because you possess two of the most valuable resources men your age or older statistically do not: time and freedom. I envy you. You're unshackled by responsibilities, liabilities, and accountabilities that most men your age in marriages, long-term relationships, with children, or recovering from divorce must contend with daily. Without any intention, you're in such a position that you can go in any direction of your choosing without considering the impact of your choice for anyone but yourself. Many other men, even in the most ideal of long-term relationships, do not have this luxury. When you think of the responsibilities when you think of all the responsibilities that are required of most men and women in modern life today, you have won the lottery.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, the way that I see MGTOW, for me,
Mhm.
the way that I hope for all men to be, is men who have realized their potential, make their own decisions, and live their own lives happily, whether in relationships or not.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with it, and I've never even advocated for men who are married, such as yourself,
Mhm.
to get a divorce because of all the legal ramifications, all the problems that might ensure, children, everything that might go into it. I think the point of origin that you talked about before, what I want from MGTOW, and at least my message for self-actualized men or men who understand their worth in life, to just go and live their own lives however they please to. And I think we will agree to disagree with regards to marriage and all that. I don't know if you advertise for marriage, actually. I don't know. What do
Well,
you think about that?
when it comes to marriage, my point is this: I'm not anti-marriage. Okay, I'm anti. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know she was going to fuck me over. I didn't know, I couldn't believe she did this to me. That's the kind of marriage I don't believe in. Okay, if you're going to be married, if you're going to decide that that's the lifestyle that you want to engage and that's what you want to do, okay, I've done it. I've done it. I've been married for 19 years. Yeah. And I like my I like my lifestyle. I'm good where I'm at. I have been able to, because of who I am and what I do, because of my branding, because of my my personal career choices. I've been able to make that work. Okay. I'm not saying that everybody can be Rollo Tomassi, okay? I'm not saying that everybody can say, oh, well, that's cool. I'm gonna have these girls. You know, I work with I work with really hot women all the time, okay? I really do, and I and that's just part of the liquor side of my career, okay? That's not my gaming side. That's not my gambling side. That's not the technical side of my career. I have a lot of other irons in the fire that I do. A lot of people think that, oh, well, he's just a liquor guy. No, I do lots of other things too. But the thing is that you're not going to be me. And that's the most important thing to gather from what I write, is that anybody selling you some magic formula on how you're going to live a better life, how you're going to be a better person if you get married, how you're going to be a better person if you don't get married, is selling you something. It's up to you, okay? I've said this a million times on my website, and I'm not prescriptive, I'm descriptive, okay? I will tell you how the facts lay out. I will tell you how the landscape works. I will tell you, or I will show you the friggin' map that you can use to walk around the environment that you're in, but you still have to do it. I'm not the dude. I'm not the guy who's going to go and say, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a guy who's going to say, here's the mindset you need to have. No, you know why? Anybody telling you that is full of shit. You're the guy who has to tell yourself. You're the guy who has to take the tools and the facts that you have and use those to your best advantage. So I can tell you how Rollo Tomassi is a good dude who has a daughter and has a 19-year marriage, and who was a semi-professional rock star in his 20s. Okay, I can tell you how that happened, but I can't tell you how you're going to be successful. I can't tell you how you're going to be, or how you're going to save your marriage. I can't tell you how to do that. You're going to tell me how you're going to do that. And that's how it works. That's the red pill. If somebody tells you they have a formula, if somebody tells you that they have some magic script that's going to say, oh, here's the man's plan of action to, to make your life complete, you turn away and run away, because you are the one that's going to make that happen for yourself. And I don't care if you're a MGTOW, I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you're single, whatever. That is the truth, is you are the one who's going to set the course of your own life. And what I'm doing is I'm giving you the tools. And what the red pill does in general, I guess, is to give you a basic awareness of what you can expect and what you can use to make your life better.
Absolutely.
That's the plan, and that's what you can use. So if you're MGTOW, great. If you're an MRA, great. If you're a pickup artist, great. Use the red pill and use that awareness to make yourself better and make yourself your own mental point of origin.
That was brilliant. I like that. I mean, that's what I tell people. And I've actually had people who told me, I want to move away from MGTOW. I want to do my own thing. I want to go about my own business and, start dating again. I don't want to be exposed to the toxicity within the community. And there is loads of that. Trust me. And I'm like, all right, man, you have the knowledge. Do with the knowledge whatever you want. Now you can't blame anyone other than yourself. You do whatever you want, and exactly. The decisions are up to you. Cool. That's freedom at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right, man.
Thank you very much. I think that was a good way to finish this.
Yeah. Cool.
I think I managed to keep you longer than what you wanted to say. Thank you very much for the interview. And if you want, you have me on Skype. We can keep in touch. Thank you very much for this,
Nick,
man.
Thank you very much.
See you, man. See you. Take care.
Right, man. See you.
Bye-bye.